So today I want to talk about Bitcoin being the best budgeting tool out there. And so just to give a bit of background here, this is something that I've been doing for about 6 months now. And I think that it's something that every Bitcoiner should be doing. And in order to do that, you're going to need an application on your phone like Fold in the US or ShakePay in Canada. And so basically what I've been doing for the last 6 months or before that, but this is my strategy that I've been using for the last 6 months is that I just load up ShakePay, and you can actually link it with a Visa within ShakePay and use it for every single purchase you make, whether that's gas, whether that's groceries. Every retailer or business who accepts tap, you can use ShakePay there, your Visa. It's a prepaid, but it's a Visa. And so this is, I put together a spreadsheet, of course, because why wouldn't I? But I want to show the difference here in terms of real numbers. So what you're going to do here is you're going to look at and this is going to make people uncomfortable, but you're going to look at your expenses for every month. Not your mortgage, not your property taxes, not your insurance, but your food costs, your drink costs, your entertainment, everything that you usually tap your phone for. Your local butcher, whatever it is. But look at your costs and go through it and find an average for the last year or even the last couple of months. This is going to be the hardest part for people to do. It's uncomfortable, takes a little bit of time. But if you do this, I think you're going to be much better off going forward here. So kind of the concept with this is that Jeff Booth talks about how everything's going to get cheaper if you're holding Bitcoin. We've looked at different examples in terms of houses and how much housing has gone up in fiat, but way down in Bitcoin. And that's over a longer time period. So what I want to do here is I want to talk about the exact same concept, but month to month basis. And it's important that you kind of realize where you're at in terms of the Bitcoin cycle, but we'll talk about that. So here's the thing. Let's say that you went through your expenses and you determined that it was about $2,000 a month in terms of your food costs, your gas, everything that you tap your phone for in a month. $2,000. So this is my proposal. You take that on the first of the month, which would be in 2 days from now. You load that up, you buy Bitcoin with it, $1,500 worth of Bitcoin, and you save $500 of cash for that. So your total of available spending is $2,000. $1,500 is being held in Bitcoin and $500 is being held in cash. And I'll talk about why. And if you want to take this a step further, hold it in physical cash. So on the first of every month, load up your ShakePay or your Fold account, buy Bitcoin, and then go to the ATM and take out $500 worth of cash. This is all based on $2,000 per month. Some people might be more than that. Some people might be less, but it's about 75% should be in Bitcoin. So this is kind of the reason for it. So if you look at Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin on February 1st was 55,000 here in Canada. The price of Bitcoin for February 29th was 79,000 Canadian dollars. So that was an increase of 30%. It went up over the month. And so you take that, and if you were storing that in Bitcoin, all of a sudden now you went from having $2,000 available to $2,450 available. So you freed up there $450 worth of expenses, stuff that you would already be spending money on. You gained $450 just by storing it in Bitcoin. So that was February. That was I'm sure there's been some months like that in the last year, but March was probably a little bit more realistic, I think. So Bitcoin on March 1st was 81,000 Canadian, and on March 29th, today, 91,000 Canadian. So that was an increase of 11%. And so with that, you would have gained $165 worth of purchasing power. Pretty good, right? For a month, if you can find a way to save essentially, or make an extra $165, free up $165, that's a good thing. And so kind of the logic here and what you want to be focused on when you're going through this is use the first of the month as your marker. And so every time throughout that month where you go to spend money, look at your marker. So let's say that we're going to take March, for example. So 81,000 is your marker there for every time you go to spend money. And if it's above that, if the price of Bitcoin is above that, you trade that for dollars and you pay for that because you're going to make money on that. When it's below there, when it's below 81,000 bucks for the day that you have to spend some money, you spend your cash. So that's why instead of going 100% Bitcoin, because then you're going to have days where you actually lose some money probably, you keep a portion in cash. And whenever it's below your marker of when you bought it, that's when you spend the cash. So you actually didn't lose any money on the trade there if you spend your cash. But if it's above and you can sell it and shave off some profits there, then you spend your Bitcoin. And if you have anything left at the end of the month, you just move it to Bitcoin because it's already being held in Bitcoin. And so I think that this changes the whole mindset in terms of what you're buying as well. So you might have 2,000 bucks historically in terms of expenses that you've had throughout the months, but there's probably a good percent of that you could just cut out. Because if you go to buy something and you have to either spend Bitcoin or buy that item, I think that you'll think twice about things a lot more than you would if that was just sitting in your checking account or on your credit card. So it totally changes the mindset of what you're spending money on. You're not buying dumb shit because you're actually holding Bitcoin there. And you have to consider the trade-off there between what you want versus holding Bitcoin. And I think that historically anyways, we've kind of gone through a world where the narrative was that you spend what you need to during the month. And then whatever you have left over at the end of that month, that's what you put into savings. And I'd say the percentage of people who actually do that every month is probably less than 5% of the people. Because their money's worth nothing. That's why we have that mentality now. Our money's not worth anything. It's not going to be worth more in a month in terms of fiat than it was. So let's just get rid of it instead. But with this, it totally flips that on its head. You buy the Bitcoin at the start of the month. You're more careful with what you're spending it on. And then you don't have to go through the trouble of buying it or saving it at the end of the month. You're already holding that Bitcoin. So that's kind of what I wanted to propose to people in terms of budgeting and making your life much cheaper than it is today. Because if you're in Canada or pretty much anywhere on earth right now, I'm sure you've noticed how expensive everything is. And I think that this is the easiest way by far to kind of combat that inflation. So here's what I would say on it as well. I want people, if you're watching the show either live or later, I just want you to try this. So download ShakePay if you're in Canada. You can use, I might not have a link in the description anymore, but reach out to me. I'll give you my referral link so you can unlock a few features within the app. But that's not the point. It's like $5 now for the referral. So that's not my end goal here. But if you need a referral link, just reach out 88sats@proton.me. But get set up on there. Start buying things with your ShakePay. And the second part of that is every purchase that you make, you actually earn sats. So instead of like airline miles or Visa points, you actually earn Bitcoin. 1% of every purchase you make, you get back in Bitcoin. And so that just kind of resides there in your ShakePay, and you can actually use that to buy things as well, making your life even more cheaper. But I want you to try this for a year. So from April 1st, 2024 to April 1st, 2025, you really have to be mindful of where we're at in the cycle. Because there are going to be years probably, I'm thinking, like if I would have done this in 2022, I would have been losing, right? Because Bitcoin was going down every month on average. And so instead of paying too close attention to what the price is doing every single day, look at it month to month and the increase month over month, and you can start noticing trends. And the halving plays into that. Typically, historically, it's been about a year and a half of upwards movement after the halving. and then it starts going back down. So this isn't something that you're going to put into place forever. This is just something that you're going to use for the next year and a half to make your life much cheaper. And I bet at the end of it, you'll have a lot more Bitcoin than you did if you just kind of carried on your life as you are today, in terms of using your credit card, your debit card, cash to buy everything, and then whatever you have left, buying Bitcoin with. This flips that whole theory on its head. Not only increases your purchasing power, but I think that you'll have a much larger Bitcoin balance at the end of this. So there you go. Crypto Heathen says, I haven't gone as deep as creating a spreadsheet to analyze it like this, but I naturally started doing something very similar to this with Fold. It just makes sense. And that's 30%, 10%. We're probably going to go through months, I would guess later in 2024, where it's going to go up by 100%. So you're going to have 100% more purchasing power on your everyday spends than you would have otherwise. So the moral of this story is to not hold all your free cash flow you're spending for every month in cash. Don't hold it all in Bitcoin either. Find some sort of, I said 75-25% split here, but then you can kind of determine wherever the price is that day. Always compare it back to your marker, which is the first, what you bought it at. And if the price is higher than that, then spend some Bitcoin and earn your increase there. And if it's lower, use your cash and don't lose on the deal. So that's what I had for you today.